supply and the costs. Here's JB. Tom, we're in retail. Our electric contract at work has just changed, and for 1 month we've got to pay an extra £35,000 per month. I don't know how we're going to keep going the same way, says JB. Come back to that thought in just a few moments. 10 to 8 is the time. It is GCSE results day. Good luck to you if in your household you are picking these up today. It's a very, very big moment. Enjoy the moment. I hope you can. Will Quince is with us, Schools Minister and Conservative MP for Colchester. Thank you for coming on the programme, Mr. Quince. Welcome back to your job. I wonder if you remember your GCSE results day. What did you get?
I do, Tom. I thought you might ask that question. Thanks for coming on. It was 22 or so years ago, and I got 6 A's and 4 B's. My A levels did not go so well, but my GCSEs went reasonably well. Went on to then do A levels. And you're right. Today is a day of great celebration. I want to celebrate the success of young people up and down the country that are receiving those GCSE and, of course, vocational technical qualification results, and say a huge thank you to all of their teachers and lecturers, and of course their parents and carers who have supported them throughout what have been a really turbulent couple of years.
It's been very, very hard for them, given the effects of COVID on schooling. Is this the first of the COVID generation that is going to have to make up for the last few years where grades have been inflated?
So you're right, Tom. This is the first year where we haven't had teacher-assessed grades. I think none of us would have wanted to have teacher-assessed grades, but we were in extraordinary times and we had to put in exceptional measures. This is the first year we've gone back to examinations, so back to 2019. But what we haven't done is gone back in just one swoop, if you like. And that's deliberate because we've got to recognise that young people have faced disruption still over the past couple of years. And as a result, yes, we've gone back to examinations to maintain that rigour and robustness and back as far as possible to business as usual, but at the same time with a number of adaptations to recognise that disruption. So things like having advanced knowledge about what's likely to be in exams, being able to choose the questions that you answer, and of course Ofqual's approach to grading.
Do you think some of that is going to stay for the long term? The ability to know a bit more about what's coming to help people, so it's a tapered end almost of the kind of help that was offered to those during the COVID years?
So I think that is a question and debate that we're still to have with Ofqual. My personal view is that I think we need to get back to business as usual as quickly as possible. So I think we need to recognise the disruption that's taken place. But when I speak to employers and universities and colleges and indeed young people themselves, what they say to me is they do want to get back to examinations because they know that it is the best and fairest way to judge them against their peers at that moment in time, with them all sitting exactly the same exam, answering the same questions at the same time.
As GCSE pupils pick up their results, one spares a thought for the thousands of pupils who are not getting their results this morning. These are BTEC pupils because an exam board has failed to validate their results on time. That is absolutely horrendous for those pupils.
So, yeah, Tom, there are a number of, in the low hundreds, I believe, in relation to level 3s. That was from the A-level results day last week. And there will be some today with the level 2 vocational technical qualifications. And of course, I apologise for anyone that is facing that kind of disruption. This is not something that is new. That's not excusing it. But unlike A-levels and GCSEs, the vocational technical qualifications are not linear. So they're not just based on coursework and then an examination. They're deliberately flexible, so you can start them at any time. It's about evidencing your knowledge, and then that evidence is then presented by your school or college to the examination awarding body. They then check that and then award a grade. So you don't have a particular day like you have with GCSEs and A-levels. But having said that, any young person that is not able at this point in time to get into university because they're waiting for their VTQs or that is waiting on their level 2 results today, of course that is an issue, and the Secretary of State is working very closely with Ofqual, the regulator, and the two awarding bodies to get this resolved as quickly as possible.
While I've got you, let me ask you about other matters. You are supportive of Rishi Sunak. I wonder whether you agree with him that the government was not honest with people about the trade-offs due to the decisions around lockdown.
So the first thing to say, Tom, is I'm here as a education minister representing Her Majesty's government.
Understood.
I'm not representing either of the leadership campaign teams. So I'm not going to comment on anything that Rishi or Liz have said per se, other than to say this, that the government had to act on the information they had at the time. So things like closing schools, with the information we now have, would we do it again? No, I don't think we would. But based on the information, acting in good faith on the advice of SAGE and the scientific and medical experts, that decision was taken. But it was a once-in-a-100-year event. We now, God forbid, such a pandemic happens again, certainly in our lifetime, we will be more prepared. We have more knowledge. We will have more information. We'll know not to make the same mistakes that were made throughout the pandemic, and inevitably there were. But as I say, there were decisions taken in good faith based on the information that we had at the time.
Let me ask you about the energy prices. We're hearing from people who are running businesses in particular that they are going to struggle to keep their doors open as a result of the prices that they are facing, which are calling for a 150% increase in support. We had one of your colleagues on a little earlier this week who was unable to tell us about the work that is going on, we're told, in government to try and prepare the next Prime Minister with some help. Could you enlighten us further? What work is being undertaken in government to provide more help?
So I'm particularly looking at schools and education, so working very closely with schools to ensure that we understand the challenges that they're facing in relation to their energy costs. But of course, across government, all ministers are preparing for a new government, a new Prime Minister just in 2 weeks' time, and a new team, and making sure that they have options on the table. What we have done, Tom, is put in place a comprehensive package of support, some £37 billion, and a lot of that hasn't yet come to fruition, so people haven't seen the benefit of that. So, for example, the £150 council tax rebate has come into place. The first cost of living payment as part of that £1,200 payment for 8 million of the most vulnerable families. But the £400, for example, which is for every household, doesn't kick in until October. The £150 for those in receipt of disability benefits doesn't kick in until September.
Mr. Quince, would you be surprised if that £37 billion was it? That was the only additional help that was being offered?
Tom, there is no question in my mind whatsoever, both listening to the two leadership candidates, but also just looking at our economy and also the challenges that people and businesses are facing up and down this country, driven by Putin's barbaric invasion and occupation of Ukraine, that the government is going to act and put in place a further package of support measures. Now, we will have to wait a couple of weeks for a new Prime Minister to set out their agenda alongside a new Chancellor, but both leadership contenders have been clear. There will be a fiscal event and more help will be coming.
I wonder about energy rationing, given, as the Prime Minister says this morning, that there is a war on, we're paying higher bills, Ukraine is paying in blood, whether there might be, at some stage during the winter, advice to businesses who use a lot of energy, or indeed households, to say you need to cut down on your usage at this particular time.
So it's not my area of expertise, Tom. So I can't comment specifically, other than to say this, that my understanding is we don't foresee challenges of that nature. But any ways in which we can encourage both individuals, households, and businesses to reduce their energy use while still ensuring that they can run and manage their household, I think is the thing a responsible government will do. And no doubt there'll be lots of consumer experts and others up and down the country offering such advice too.
Good luck to those pupils picking up their GCSE results today, Mr. Quince. Thank you for your time. Will Quince, Schools Minister, Conservative MP for Colchester. We'll come to those comments of the Prime Minister a little bit later on, that we're paying higher bills. Ukraine is paying in blood, he says. He says, I simply say this, we must keep going. We must show our friends in Ukraine that we have the same strategic endurance as the people of that country. Come to those comments in a few moments' time. And after the